Hey, Shalom, Michelle. I want to start off as always by giving all praise to Yahweh, Shem, Yahshua, B'Shem, Kodash, that belongs to the apostles, GMS, and honors to brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and sincerity. This is a real quick one, inspired by this little animation here, as you can see. I was sent by brother in the chat. It says how it feels trying to warn people of the true nature of the government. As you can see there, you got cows there in the pen, and then you got the cow on the on the on the I've put in the, I don't know what you call it, a pulpit or whatever, based on the soapbox. I think you can say soapbox. I think that's the right word. With diagrams of how they're planning to cut up the cows. Here's hit this bit's for the sirloin, this bit's for this bit's for that, right? And then pointing over to the meat packer factory. But guess what? You see those other cows, they can't see it, right? They're like, oh, you can see, I see Mr. Conspiracy Theory is at it again, basically saying, oh, look, you're making the same complaints that were made before. And it made me think of this Romans 3 and 3. It says, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? Now, we're able to tell you with a surety that these governments are planning to do X, Y, Z, because it's in line with biblical scriptures, right? We know that pursuant to Revelation 12 and 12, Ezekiel 21 and 9, that this devil is about to start coming down upon the people, very, very heavily, right? We read the scriptures about the time of Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30, verses 6 and 7, right? A verse in Revelation, right? Speaking about the time of trouble, we should read Daniel 12 and 1 also, speaking about the time of trouble. So the time that we're coming into is going to be the time of trouble where these governments, these different governments are going to be doing all manner of wickedness, right? Trying to impose this draconian legislation. Well, they're not trying to, they are going to impose this draconian legislation. And we're starting to see that coming into play right now. Now, what we're going to be seeing more and more is this devil getting physical, right? We're gonna come to a time when you got troops down walking and driving down streets, taking people out of homes, putting people in concentration camps. You also read about that in the book of Revelation. Was it 2 and 10? In fact, we can grab that real quick and we'll come back. 2 and 10 or 3 and 10. Yep. So Revelation 2 and 10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer in the time of Jacob's trouble. Because once again, these different governments, these different powers that be, their plan is to come down heavy. Right, so behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Referencing these concentration camps. Okay, so, so some of us will end up in them concentration camps. Right, it says that ye may be tried. Right, so it's a test of our faith, whether we're gonna give in and take the mark of the beast, whether we're gonna continue having faith and remembering the scriptures and different accounts where the Lord delivered His men from difficult and perilous situations. Right, it says, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days, not a literal 10 days, just a figurative 10 days, a complete amount of time, basically. 10 representing completion, right? It says, be thou faithful unto death. So regardless of whether the camp or wherever it is that you are, whether they're saying, look, if you don't do this, if you don't take the chip, if you don't renounce Yahweh Shem Yahshua, we're going to put you to death. Hey, we've got to be faithful unto death, even if that means giving our lives, right? Scripture says, a greater love hath no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friend. It says, and I'll give thee a crown of life. And that is a literal crown. You read second Ezra, the second chapter, it speaks about the crowning. It speaks about how around about the 45th verse onwards, it speaks about how Yahweh himself is going to crown the elect and those that stand stiffly for his name in these last days. Them that aren't going to be given given to the ways of Satan. Okay. So that's the reward for having faith. Right now, the times to come, like we were saying, hey, there's a lot of things are going to be happening. So I come back here to Romans 3 and 3, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? So going back to this image here, I see Mr. Conspiracy Theory as at it again, just because this, and using this, drawing to make the point Just because these cows don't believe that they're heading to the slaughter doesn't mean that they're not going to head to the slaughter. That is their destination, right? And the scriptures talk about how Israel is led as a flock to the slaughter in the book of Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. Okay, it says, God forbid, yea, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. Right? So, hey, we know what the scriptures say, and to us the scriptures are plain. But hey, to the other people, the scriptures aren't plain. Right? They are a mystery. Right, I'm going to finish off just with the quick ones. Matthew 13. We'll start, I believe, from verse 13, and I'll what do you call it? Carry on now. Start from verse 11. He says, Matthew 13:11 says, He answered and said unto me, because it is, no, verse 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. Right? So, Yahushua was speaking to these people in parables because he didn't want them to get it. But to those that were meant to get it, he spoke to them plainly. And guess what? They understood. But even then, we can speak to someone plainly, but pursuant to, as the scripture is going to quote, Isaiah 6, 9, and 10, people aren't going to get it. It says, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Therefore speak unto them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, saying, by hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. So blessed we are that we can see all of these things coming to pass, and to us it's plain, right? We're not thinking about 50 years, we're not thinking about 5 years from now, right? We're not thinking about 1 year from now. Right? We are living day by day. You might imagine it's like, yo, if we're still here, I wonder how it's gonna be, right? We know that these last days, lots of things are gonna be happening. Hey, we're curious as how this thing is gonna play out. But in terms of getting older, that is not something that we think about, whereas the rest of these people they do. Right. So like I said, just a quick one that's based off this image here. As always, Lord's will that was edifying. Until the next time, I say shalom.